is Caitlin, and I live in Palm Springs currently. And my occupation, besides being a stay-at-home mom, I've been a dance entrepreneur, which basically, I guess, that's what I call it. I don't know if that's the exact title. Yeah, that's not the technical term, that's the Caitlin term. But basically, I start dance shows, I open dance studios, I curate dancers for events. I worked for numerous companies over the last 20 years, bringing dancers for different things, and also running my own show for 14 years. So that's kind of what I do. And now I'm actually gravitating more towards the business side of things. I do a lot of social media. I do social media for different channels and things like that. And my new goal this year is teaching myself how to use TikTok. And I know that's a stupid goal, but it's also really fun. So
it can be fun.
There's that.
There's a lot of digital marketing aspects that are like peaking right now because people are having to produce shows online and
Absolutely.
Start YouTube channels to get their business out there, whereas before they could maybe do trade shows or conventions, and we don't have those right now.
It's different now. Yeah, the world has changed, and I feel like I'm just going along with it and learning some skills along the way, and I'm working really hard at trying to produce content and just, kind of fine-tune those things a little.
Very cool. So what would you say, were some pivotal moments in your life, or even in your career and stuff that kind of led to you, A, becoming who you are, but then B, also, the businesswoman that you are as well?
So there's actually one event, I think, that kind of changed how I was going to be. And I was probably about 10 or 11, and my parents decided to get divorced. And I have great parents. I love them both. They just were not meant to be together. But at such a young age, going through a divorce like that, you don't really understand what's happening. Like that, it's kind of a life-changing thing. And then on top of it, they had money issues. So we ended up losing our house and very publicly being kicked out into the street in front of all of our neighbors. And that's, I was about 10, and my sister was 3 years younger. And so that's a very scary place for a kid to be, because not only do you feel like your parents aren't together, but you also feel like now you have no money and you're being kicked out and you have to go live somewhere else. And it's a really scary situation. So looking back on that, it made me realize that I didn't want to get married super young. I didn't want to get married until I felt like I was in a place where I could control the environment a little bit. It also made me, I don't want to say money hungry, I think that's kind of the wrong word, but it made me very financially conscious.
Financially focused.
Yeah, and I wanted to earn it myself. I didn't want someone to give it to me that it could be taken away from. I didn't want to win the lottery. I think I've bought 3 lottery tickets my whole life and I've never checked them. So I could have won, I don't know. They're in my wallet probably from 10 years ago. But
just the trauma of having taken from you.
Yes, I wanted to be in control. So all the relationships that I had when I was young, I always intentionally picked the wrong types of people. I just wanted to experiment. So I dated a whole bunch of people, and all of them were very different because I didn't know where I fit in. But I never picked somebody that I could see myself marrying. Maybe at the time I thought I could totally marry this guy. But in hindsight, I'm like, I would have never married him. There's no way. It's not going to happen. Right. So I waited a long time until I felt like I was at a place where I was ready and I felt confident in myself. I could control taking care of myself, and I didn't need to take care of someone, or I didn't need to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. And that kind of put me where I am. And because we had our own financial troubles, I made sure that I was constantly, in school. I was learning things. I was always, I had a plan B for everything. So definitely that definitely from a young age up until now at 40 really stuck with me, and I don't think that was a lesson my parents were intending to teach me, but it was a lesson that sometimes you have no control, and that's what you get from it.
Exactly. And how about, taking all of those lessons that you're starting to realize now and the depth that you were impacted as a child, how would you say that that's affecting your, what would we call it, your growth journey, or your, understanding of how this is a process. It's not just overnight. Like things that affected me when I was 10, I'm still having to undo the traumas and triggers from.
Yeah.
You know, and then I have to grow from it now that I'm conscious of it, right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, when would you say that that stuff started to kind of kick in for you?
I would say at about age 30. For some reason, I feel like before 30, I felt like such a kid. Even though at 25, I mean, you're clearly an adult. You can rent a car, you can buy whatever you want. You know, you're a full adult.
But just where you were mentally.
Mentally, yeah. When I hit 30, I was like, wow, I'm kind of a grown up now. Like, I better do something with myself, you know? So I had all of this knowledge growing up, and about 30 is when I really started to put it into play, and I started to process, like, these are the things that affected me, and I had, like, a general understanding of what was going on.
Okay, very cool. And then leading into, you had mentioned, you know, that your divorce, you know, put you in a position where you wanted to be very financially independent is kind of how I took that. And then now, you know, you're happily married and you clearly have a partner that, you know, you're financially co-responsible with. How was it like veering into that for you?
Well, coming from that feeling of, you know, being so nervous for what tomorrow holds. You know, I was able to take care of myself. Like up through my 20s, I was able to take care of myself. But for some reason, I always dated people that I had to take care of. Like I was always responsible for paying the rent. If somebody's job fell through, then I would compensate. And like I was always, you know, I felt like I was so much the masculine in the relationship and I took care of everything. So then when I met my husband, it was actually a breath of fresh air that he took a more masculine role, which is, I consider myself like to a T. I am a Capricorn, I am very alpha female, and I have to tone it down a lot. But it was so nice to meet somebody that could kind of join in as a partner. And, you know, I look back on like all that childhood stuff, and I no one meant, you know, anything bad to happen to me. Like my parents obviously weren't trying to hurt me or do any damage to me, but you go through things and you don't know how that child's gonna, you know, receive that information they're given. And for me, it made me really focused on finding a good partner, one that I knew that my intention is not to leave.
You don't want to divorce.
Yeah, I'm not trying to pick somebody that's bad, you know, and it took a long time, you know, to find that. It took, you know, almost 40 years. So.
Right. And now that you're in a situation where you have that, you know, and you're like, hey, I have this partner, I can actually start a family with them, you know, I can actually start to build. How has that impacted you?
It's been a breath of fresh air to be able to start a family. And I know I got a lot of criticism from people like, oh, wow, you're almost 40. What are you doing trying to have a kid now? Or what? But the long and short of it is you don't know when you're going to meet your person. You don't know when your time is. You know, we're all kind of climbing up this ladder, and some people get it young, some people get it old, some people don't get it at all, some people don't want it. You know, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like I take it when it feels right.
Okay. And do you guys have a lot of moments now that you're a couple, you're married, where you, whether it's trials, tribulations, you know, adult traumas of your own, whatever, where you have to, you know, work together to overcome things? Do you guys typically do things in solidarity? Like, what's your marriage like?
We work very well together. We're very perfect balance for each other. I mean, nothing is perfect, but we are a mostly perfect balance for each other. I look out for his heart and he looks out for mine. So whenever I approach something, I try to say, is this going to hurt him if I say this? You know, and I hope that he would say the same thing. He tries not to hurt my feelings. You know, I mean, sometimes it's going to happen, but we try to take good care of each other. Neither one of us have a large amount of super close friends, and we don't have a ton of family. So we really are kind of our family unit together, and we have really good communication. We sit down and we talk things out. And we work really good as a team. And I think that's what I was waiting for so long, was just to find someone that was like a teammate. You know, there are a lot of people you meet that you really like and that are a lot of fun, but then you realize at the end of the day, they're a lot of fun and oh, they're really cool, but that's
Never
not my
mind on that.
teammate.
Like, grow with them.
Yeah, there isn't more beyond that.
And now you found it.
I did. I got really lucky.
Hey. So you had mentioned that, you know, you make shows, you know, you've done a lot of dancers at events. So what is one of your favorite moments, you know, in your career, whether it be a show that you produced or like a really funny, I don't know, you know, moment that pops out to you?
So I've done a lot of really cool things. I would say the thing that pops out to me the most was the very first time I was hired for a dance job. I was 16 years old, and my dance studio that I went to hired me to teach like jazz for like 10-year-olds.
Okay.
And I had such a great time teaching them. I did cheerleading, so I used some of those skills from like the cheerleading and I put it into the dance. And they did this like Mission Impossible number, and I had them flipping all over the place and doing things. And I felt so good because my dance teacher came to me. She was the director, and she came to me and she's like, wow, that was really good. Like, good job. And I felt so like happy that somebody had recognized that I spent a year with these girls. I'm only 16 years old. Like, what do I really know? I'm
Right.
16, you know? And I got to teach them this to the point where my dance teacher thought like, wow, that was
And
great.
dance teachers never compliment.
They don't.
If they don't say anything, that's a compliment.
Exactly.
You're always
exactly.
doing something wrong. Your
Yeah.
toes wrong, your toes are wrong, your hips
Yeah.
are wrong, stand up straight, tuck the hips, do this.
Yeah.
They never say anything if you look good. They just walk past you and nod.
Yep,
So
exactly.
for them to give a compliment, that's like...
I was so happy. I was like, yes. So for me, I think that built up my confidence knowing, hey, you can do this. So it was
That's
good.
awesome.
Pat on the back.